Control number pulled for this particular incident?
Yes, I was.
And what is that case number control number? What does that do for you?
That is assigned specifically to that case.
And that case number being 141529?
That's correct.
So all the reports would be put under that case number?
That's correct.
And any evidence, photographs, or any other items of interest would be put under that case number?
Yes, ma'am.
1529.
Did I not say 1529?
No, you said 14.
Okay,
5.
that's right. Did I stand corrected? It's 2014 1529. Sorry. May I first witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Investigator Miller, I'm showing you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit D for identification. Ask you to draw your attention to the case number. Is that case number familiar to you?
Yes, it is.
What case number is on this?
That is 14-1529.
And the initials of ASK, who was that?
That was Investigator Kubin.
She no longer works for the agency.
That's correct.
Judge, at this time, pursuant to the stipulation, I would like to enter this State's Exhibit D for identification in as, I believe, State's Exhibit 1. Are we going to go with 4?
No, this would be our first one that's been.
Right. So, that's one.
No objection.
Item.
I believe that was a bag of popcorn.
Okay. I can again approach what it's showing.
You may.
And at this time, Investigator Miller, I'm showing you some previously marked as State's Exhibit E for identification, which for the record is the image JPEG last 41755, taken by forensic investigator Amy Parrish on January 13, 2014. Are there a number of pins within this?
Yes, there are.
Okay. And pin 12?
Pin 12.
What is marking pin 12?
That is identifying what appears to be a popcorn bag.
The same popcorn bag that I previously put into evidence?
Correct.
Judge, at this time, I'd like to enter this into evidence pursuant to the stipulation of State's Exhibit 2.
Going to be admitted.
Once you arrived on scene, you indicated that you met with Captain Steffens, who at the time was your supervisor. Did he give you any particular tasks to carry out while you were on scene at the Cobb Theater on January 13th of 2014?
Yes, he did. He instructed me to go to the rear of the movie theater and meet with Detective Proctor.
Did you go back and meet with Detective Proctor?
I did.
Okay. And was someone who then became known to you as Curtis Reeves with Detective Proctor at that time?
That's correct, along with Detective Koenig and Deputy Gondek.
And Detective Proctor was finishing up an interview?
That's correct.
That time, did he introduce you to Curtis Reeves?
Either he did or Detective Koenig did.
And at that time, did you then go ahead and carry out a task?
That's
or
correct.
A series of tasks?
Yes.
What did you do?
I began photographing Mr. Reeves, and then I collected items of evidence.
And when you indicated you photographed him, where did you photograph him?
In an adjacent movie theater.
So not necessarily in Theater 10, but near Theater 10?
Yes.
Was anyone else in the theater at that time?
No, there was nobody else.
Now, when you indicated that you began photographing him, how did you go about doing that?
As Mr. Reeves was seated, I began photographing, taking a series of photographs of his general condition.
Did you take photographs of him actually clothed?
Yes, I did.
In his street clothes that he was wearing?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also take photographs of him with some other outfit on?
Yes, in a Tyvek suit.
Okay. But what type of suit?
It's called a Tyvek suit. It's a protective white suit that we placed him in.
What type of camera did you use to take those photographs?
That was a Canon 60D.
Digital camera?
Yes, it was.
And as part of those digital photographs, were you able to access the metadata on those photographs?
Yes.
And did you in fact review the metadata as you put them on either the photo server or in preparation for this hearing today?
I did.
And this time, Judge, if I can approach the witness. Well, actually, let me approach Mr. Shaw first. Now, you indicated that you first photographed Mr. Reeves in his street clothes.
That's correct.
And I'm showing what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit F for identification. Specifically, I'm looking at, for the record, 211-6637, taken on January 13th by forensic investigator Miller. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes, I do.
Is that the first photograph that you took of Mr. Reeves? Maybe
That
interview,
ain't
Judge.
gonna work. Go ahead.
My case card indicated that it was 1545 hours, so in succession from there, from
And
1545.
when you looked at the metadata, did that indicate to you 1544?
1543, 1544, somewhere around there.
Now we're looking at 211-6652. Again, photograph of Mr. Reeves taken by investigator Miller. You recognize that photograph?
Yes, I do.
And let's backtrack for a second. On 637, that's a photograph of him just sitting in the movie theater seat, a particular movie theater seat.
That's
in and of
correct.
the theater.
Yes.
And what is this photograph that's 652? What does that depict?
This photograph depicts the right side of the face, and he is now clothed in the Tyvek suit that I've described earlier.
And what time, according to your metadata and your memory, did you take that photograph?
Well, the last photograph was taken, I believe it's 1604, so
That would have
within
been
that time range.
204. Or 4, excuse me, 404. Next photograph, 211-6649. Again, a photograph taken by you on January 13, 2014 of Mr. Curtis Reeves. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what does that depict?
This is the left side of the face, also clothed in the Tyvek suit.
And did you see any blood on his face?
No, I did not.
Any cuts?
No, I did not.
Judge, this time I'd like to enter these pursuant to stipulation and the predicate as State's Exhibit number 3.
It'll be a minute. We'll just do that.
I have nothing further of this witness at this time, Your Honor. Attended the witness.
Morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning.
Now, Ms. Sumner, when she questioned you, asked you about Captain Steffens, is that right?
That's correct.
And he directed you to certain tasks that you needed to perform inside the movie theater?
That's correct.
All right, and among those tasks were to photograph Mr. Reeves, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You previously testified in this hearing that you observed some redness on the eyelid of one of Mr. Reeves' eyes, correct?
That is correct.
At any point did Captain Steffens direct you to pay close attention to any types of abrasions or bruises on Mr. Reeves' face?
No, sir.
That was independently observed by you in the course of you conducting your duties and photographing him?
It was, and Captain Steffens, I only made contact with him in the parking lot, so he was not in the movie theater with me.
Okay. Now, you used a Canon model camera, right?
That's correct.
Who's the owner of that camera?
Pasco County Sheriff's Office.
How did that camera come to be in your possession on that day when you showed up at the movie theater?
That's my assigned camera.
That's your assigned camera, okay. We talked about metadata.
Yes.
Okay. You can input a time into a Canon camera of the type that you had that day?
When you originally get the camera, yes.
At what point did you confirm that the time in the camera is the time that's consistent with, let's say, the one on your cell phone?
Well, that information, when I first got the camera, that was all inputted at that point.
At some point, you had an opportunity to confirm that the time in the camera was the same as the one that would show up on, let's say, your cell phone or some other reliable source of time, yes?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Nothing further at the time, Investigator Miller, I'd ask that she be on standby.
All right. Investigator Miller, you will, you're free to go today, and there's a possibility you could be recalled, so you're still under subpoena. Should you get a call to come back, please do so. Hopefully you'll get plenty of advance notice if needed. All right, thank you. Who's next?
Ms. Weigand?
Do you solemnly swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Swear to God. Some water.
Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Counsel. Good morning.
Morning.
Would you state your name for the record and spell your last name, please?
Denise Weigand, spelling W-E-I-G-A-N-D.
Ms. Weigand, how are you currently employed?
I'm retired from Pasco County Sheriff's Office, currently employed at USAA.
And what is your duties at First of all, what is USAA?
United States Automobile Insurance. It's a corporation.
And there's a corporation in what county?
It's in Hillsborough County.
And what do you do at USAA?
Physical security officer.
Are you an armed security officer?
Yes, sir.
Prior to taking up that position, you mentioned that you were at the Pasco Sheriff's Office. When did you first begin your work at the Pasco Sheriff's Office? Your first job, first assignment?
I became employed at Pasco Sheriff's Office January 3rd, 1986.
And your first assignment?
Was in forensics. Correction, communications.
All right. And when you say in communications, what does that mean? What were your duties and responsibilities?
That was in dispatch. That is to receive calls and dispatch officers.
Now, at that point in time, were you a sworn police officer?
No, I went to the police academy after that,
And what year did you graduate from the police academy?
1991.
And in 1991, did you become a sworn deputy with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
And during the time in the police academy, did you have some courses that involved the collection and preservation, securing evidence at the scene?
Yes.
Now, how long were you worked as I'll call it a road deputy, if you will?
I went from there to forensics after about 10 years. I stayed as a reserve up until 1996 when I went into forensics.
So from 1991 to 1996, you were a uniformed deputy?
I became a reserve deputy, stayed in the communications center, and then in 96 went to forensics.
In 1996, when you went to forensics, what schools did you go to in order to go to forensics at that time?
I started out with a basic 80-hour crime scene given by FDLE, and then from there I did advanced and specialized courses since then.
And since 1996 up until the time you required, can you give us some of the courses that you took to make sure you were still current with the techniques used to collect, preserve, and process evidence found at the scene?
I had attended several classes. A lot of them dealt with either photography, basic fingerprinting techniques, then some of the advanced courses including homicide and shooting reconstruction.
Right. From 1996 up until the time that you retired, were you constantly with the forensic unit?
Yes,
And you have testified at trials before?
yes,
Testified as a forensic investigator?
yes, sir.
Testified regarding the photography and the photographs that you've taken at previous scenes?
Yes, sir.
Let me direct your attention to December 15th, 2015. Were you employed with the Pasco Sheriff's Office as a forensic investigator at that time?
Yes,
And were you asked to flip the pages. And on that day, were you asked to respond to Cobb Theater at 6333 Wesley Grove Boulevard in Wesley Chapel, Florida?
yes, I was.
And did you arrive there approximately midnight?
Yes, sir.
And who did you meet with when you arrived there?
I met with Detective Proctor from Pasco Sheriff's Office. There were several other people present.
Was I also present?
Yes, sir.
And what were you asked to do after you arrived?
I was requested to take photographs inside the theater.
And did you in fact do that?
Yes, sir, I did.
And those photographs included the seating or chairs within the theater?
Yes, sir.
And was that theater 10 at the Cobb Theater?
Yes, sir.
And did you in fact take some measurements at the theater which you documented with photographs?
Yes, sir.
Please join us.
It's hard to keep track, right?
Let me show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit G. Can I first look at some? Ask if you look at those, please. You don't have to stand here, Judge. Do you recognize those photographs?
I do.
And on December 15th, 2015, did you in fact take those photographs?
Yes, I did.
And the measurements that we see within those photographs, did you take those measurements?
Yes, I did.
Let me refer you to specifically to photograph number 1. Inside the theater in Theater 10 at the Cobb Theater.
I just want to make sure, is there a number on at that actual photograph
Yes, I put a number 1 on it.
in the front?
I put a number 1 on it.
Okay.
Let me show you photograph number 1 on State's Exhibit marked by DG. At the theater are the seats, I'll call it stadium, so that there's a riser in between, so as you go up, you take stairs and the chairs go up on an incline.
Yes, sir.
And did you in fact take measurements of the height of the in Theater 10 that butts up against the wall before the bistro, and then the row down? We've been referring that as row A and B.
Yes, sir.
And what is the height of the riser?
That was 14.5 inches.
Take a photograph of the measurements of the seat height from the floor to the top of the cushion.
Yes,
All right. And what is that measurement?
that's approximately 16 inches.
You know, at this time, it was State's Exhibit G marked for identification into evidence as State's Exhibit number 4.
Is it 4 or 3?
I think it's 4, Judge.
Yeah.
Should be 4, Judge.
Yep. It'll be a minute.
Your Honor, I have marked as State's Exhibit for identification I, It is a pair of Nike Air Max size 12 shoes belonging to Chad Olson, and pursuant to the stipulation, I will move those into evidence. Number 5. And Madam Clerk, do you have a pair of scissors that we may borrow?
Judge, since they've been admitted into evidence, can we have it stamped so that we then have the admitted evidence number that we're referring to, just so that we can keep the record clean?
Yep,
I believe I referred to it as State Exhibit 5, but
Okay.
sure, we can do that, Joe. No problem. You can go ahead and mark that, and I'll wait.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, yeah, it is. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You may.
Ms. Blagan, let me show you State's Exhibit number 5. Now, I know you did not collect these, because pursuant to stipulation, they've been moved into evidence, but you did do some work with them, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And if you'd like to put on a pair of gloves, because it is marked biohazard, I'll give you a few minutes to do that, then I'll ask you to open the bag and identify the contents of the bag. Go ahead. Thank you.
Want them both out?
Let's, you have the right one? Ms. Wigan, do you recognize State's Exhibit number 5?
Yes, I do.
Let me direct your attention to May 26th of 2016. Did you have an occasion to take State's Exhibit number 5 out of evidence and conduct a measurement?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what measurement was that you conducted?
The measurement was of the inside, the height of the shoe.
All right. And was that to determine the heel height, if you will, of the shoe?
Yes, sir.
So you determined where the cushion was on the
Judge, I'm
inside?
going to object. He's been leading this whole time. I've given him a little leeway because I know he has to do some introductory, but this leading.
All right. Did you determine the heel height? Let me do it this way. Would you agree with me or not that you determined the heel height by placing a ruler inside the cushion and another ruler down on the flat surface on the outside?
Well,
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
that's agree or disagree, but.
I was just
at any
gonna
rate,
say.
I did the best I could.
Yeah.
Still calls for yes or no?
Tell us how you did the measurement.
I took a ruler and placed it on the inside of the shoe, one on the outside, and measured the distance difference between the two rulers.
And did you in fact take a photograph of that process?
Yes, I did.
Let me show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit for identification J. First witness, Judge?
You may.
Do you recognize State's Exhibit marked for identification J?
Yes, I do.
And does that photograph fairly and accurately represent the depiction of the measurement of the taking of the measurement that you just described,
Yes, sir.
the method that you used?
Yes, sir.
And once you employed that method, what was the heel height of State's Exhibit number 5?
1.5 inches.
Your Honor, at this time I move State's Exhibit number J, marked for identification, into evidence as State's Exhibit number 6.
Objection.
All right, it'll be admitted.
All right. Ms. Weigel, while I give this to the clerk, would you help me by putting those shoes back in the bag for me, please, ma'am? Here you go, ma'am. Let me direct your attention to July 12, 2016. On that date, were you still employed as a forensic investigator with the Pasco Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
And did you have an occasion to meet with Nicole Olson in order to take a series of measurements?
Yes, I did.
And where did that meeting take place?
At her residence.
And did you, in fact, take a measurement of her height?
Yes, I did.
And did you photograph the process?
Yes, I did.
Approach the witness, Judge. Let me show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit P, and ask if you would look at those two photographs, please. And do you recognize both of those photographs?
Yes, I do.
And is that the individual who identified herself to you as Nicole Olson?
Yes.
And had you previously taken some photographs of her injured hand after the shooting?
Yes, I did.
So you knew who Nicole Olson was?
Yes, sir.
Right. Let me refer to photograph CE3A0150. And what is that photograph?
That's an overall photograph of Miss Olson standing against the wall with the tape measure behind her.
Is shoes on or off?
Off.
Let me show you photograph CE3A0151. And what is that of?
That's a closer view of the tape measure next to Miss Olson's.
Right. And did you, in fact, determine the height of Miss Olson without her shoes on?
Yes, sir.
On that particular day?
Yes, sir.
And what is her height?
It's approximately 63 inches, which is 5 foot 3 inches.
Your Honor, at this time I move State Exhibit marked for identification P as into evidence as number 7, I believe it is. Is that correct? Thank you.
Objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
And be admitted.
Here you go, Madam Clerk. Fine. Let me.
Your Honor, is that 6 or 7?
7.
7.
Let me direct your attention now to August 28th, 2000. I'm sorry, I'm going to start over. Let me direct your attention now to August 24th, 2016. Were you in fact employed as a forensic investigator at that time?
I was retired, but I was still on the department as a reserve deputy.
All right. And as a reserve, and that is a reserve sworn deputy, is it not?
Yes, yes.
And because you had done work in this case, did your department allow you to come back as a reserve deputy and perform some additional functions as a forensic investigator?
Yes, sir.
So now, directing your attention to August 24th, 2016, did you have an opportunity to meet with Detective Proctor and Mr. Reeves here at the State Attorney's Office on that particular day?
I met with Detective Smith and Mr. Reeves here at the State Attorney's Office.
And did you, in fact, take a series of measurements of Mr. Reeves?
Yes, I did.
All right. If the individual that you know as Mr. Reeves in the courtroom today, could you point him
Yes,
out?
yes, he is.
All right. Point him out.
He'd be sitting next to Mr. Escobar, second from the center.
Can you
There.
describe his tie?
He has on a blue tie, white shirt.
We would stipulate that she's identified Mr. Reeves.
All right. Trustworthy, Judge? Let me show you what's been marked as identification as State's Exhibit number 8 for identification. It's a composite exhibit, photographs 1 and 2, and if you would look at photograph 1 and then 2, and let me know if you recognize those.
Yes, I do.
Is photograph 1 and photograph 2, are those the photographs that you took on August 24th, 2016 of Mr. Reeves?
Yes, they are.
The position that Mr. Reeves in, is he standing or in a chair?
He's sitting in a chair.
And the measurement is from where to where?
The measurement is from the seat chair up into the top of his head.
And what is that measurement?
That measurement is approximately 37 and an eighth inch.
Yeah, at this time, the state would move State's Exhibit marked for ID H into evidence as State's Exhibit 8. And no further questions.
Ross?
Thank you, Your Honor. Madam Clerk, can I have 4 through 8, please? That is State's 4 through 8, I should say. Is your 5? Yeah, okay, there you are. Good afternoon again, Ms. Wiegand. You and I have had an opportunity to meet before, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Wiegand, where were you on January the 13th of 2014? Were you out there at the Cobb Theater?
No, I was not.
Okay. Did you have other members of your group that were out there taking photographs?
There were other investigators at the theater, yes.
Okay. And I would imagine that your department has access to the reports that are generated during a forensic investigation of a shooting incident. You've got that available at your office.
The records section does keep the copy of the reports.
Okay, and so that gives you an opportunity to go back and see what was done and what was not done, correct?
You can request a copy of the reports, yes.
And be able to tell exactly who did what and what they did and what they didn't do.
You can read the reports, yes, sir.
Okay. And many times you do just that. You actually, go back and take a look at, see what Kubin may have done, right? Forensic investigator Kubin, for example.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
Okay. So you were, how were you contacted in order to do the work that you just testified about here? How were you contacted?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Yes. Who contacted you? I mean, obviously this was, we're talking about the first forensic exercise that you did here. That was going over to the movie theater. That was quite a long time, about 1.5 years after January the 13th of 2014, correct?
Yes.
And so, did you look at those records to see what was done and what was not done?
No, I did not.
But did you even know when you first were contacted as to why you all had to go back in the middle of the night?
I was requested by Detective Proctor to respond.
Now, you would agree that in a shooting incident, you're really supposed to take all the measurements so that you have those measurements right then and there when the incident occurred, correct?
I don't know which measurements were taken in the beginning. I was just requested to assist them on that night.
And you never bothered to take a look at your reports that were generated by your office to determine if the measurements that now you were going to be requested to perform had already been taken before?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Correct.
You never even looked at any of those photos to see if, in fact, what you were seeing in 2015 was exactly what would have been there in 2014?
I did not look at the photographs and I did not look at the reports.
Okay. Now, as part of your unit, you have some forensic tools, correct?
Yes, sir.
In order for you all to perform your job, right?
Yes.
And some of those forensic tools are measuring tools.
There are tape measures, yes.
And they're actually forensic rulers, correct?
There are some forensics rulers, yes.
And in fact, those forensic rulers you buy from a forensic supplier.
I don't do the ordering, sir.
But you've certainly seen the rulers and you've used them, right?
There are small rulers, yes.
In fact, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 6. And can I put you on? And what type of ruler were you using in your measurements of State's Exhibit number 6?
That's a small ruler.
Is that a forensic ruler?
I guess you can call it a forensics ruler.
Well, is that a ruler that you were supplied by a forensic supplier?
I don't do the ordering. I don't know who manufactured it or where it was purchased from, but the forensic suppliers do have those for sale.
Those that you see in that exhibit?
Yes, sir.
Now, forensics are important in a shooting reconstruction, correct?
They're always important.
And in forensics, and when you're doing your evaluation and your measurements or what have you, you want to be precise, right?
As precise as possible.
Because if you're not precise, it can throw things off, right?
You get it as approximately precise as you can.
What does that mean? Approximately as precise as you can. What does that mean?
That means not everything is level, flat, and always easy to take an exact measurement of.
Okay, or you're talking about the landscape. I'm talking about the instrument. Certainly the instrument, you want it to be precise.
Standard tape measure, is that what you're
No, I'm talking
referring
about
to?
the forensic one first. The forensic ruler you see in that exhibit. You want it to be precise, you want it to be accurate, correct?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. And so tell me what you do in your efforts to try to make sure that the tools that you're using are in fact accurate.
Those are the tools supplied by the department.
So you don't do anything to determine whether the tools that you're using are going to be accurate?
No, sir.
Now, your first exercise of going to the Cobb Theater took place, your first exercise of going to the Cobb Theater took place on, you're saying, December the 15th of 2015.
Yes, sir.
Almost 2 years from the date of the incident.
Yes, sir.
And you went equipped with a camera, right?
Yes.
And you went equipped with some tools, being measuring tools.
Yes, sir.
And what measuring tools did you go equipped with?
Tape measures.
Are you talking about State's Exhibit number 4?
Yes, sir.
That yellow tape measure?
Yes, sir.
Have you determined the accuracy of this tape measure?
No, I did not do any calibrations or anything on that tape measure.
Do you know where it was purchased?
No, I do not.
Do you know who the manufacturer is?
No, I do not.
So you don't even know if this tape measure was manufactured in China
No, I do not.
or Iraq?
Do not.
And you never bothered to measure this tape measure against a standard that you had some confidence with, a forensic tool, forensic ruler?
I did not do any calibration on the tape measure.
Do you know where this tape measure is at? At the very least, did you preserve it for this particular exercise and say, well, we're gonna get that tape measure and we're gonna put it in evidence because this is what was used?
That tape measure belonged to the forensics unit.
Well, my question is, did you take that tape measure and place it in evidence as a tape measure that you used in this exercise?
No, I did not.
Now, you indicated that now on July the 12th of 2016, that you were contacted again for purposes of conducting some measurements.
Yes, sir.
And who were you contacted by?
Detective Smith.
Okay, and did he tell you what it was that he wanted you to do?
I responded with him to take measurements of Miss Olson.
Well, but my question is, did he tell you beforehand what he wanted you to do?
I would assume so.
Do you have any recollection of what that was?
That he wanted measurements taken of Mrs. Olson.
So before you left your office, obviously you were aware that your task that day was going to be to take measurements?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you look back in your office to see if in fact those measurements had been previously taken by anyone?
If those measurements were previously taken by, can you
Yeah,
repeat
by
the
your
rest?
forensic unit of Miss Olson.
No, I did not,
Why not?
because I was requested to go with Detective Smith to do that.
You had previously met Miss Olson, is that correct?
Yes.
And how many days after this incident had you met Miss Olson?
I had met Miss Olson the first time, the day of the incident.
The day of the incident?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you had met her at the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And you had taken some photographs of her?
Yes.
So you knew who she was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you requested that day when you were taking photographs of her at the hospital to do any measurements of her?
No, sir.
Had they requested that, would you have been able to do so?
I would assume so.
So now, where do you go to take these measurements that are shown in State's Exhibit number 7?
Where did I go? I responded to her residence.
To her residence, okay. And what tools did you take in an effort to do that?
The camera and the rulers.
Well, what ruler did you take to this particular exercise that you were going to perform?
The one shown in the photograph.
Do you know if the one that you took is one and the same that you took for State's Exhibit number 4?
No, I did not.
You have no idea whether they're one and the same.
No, I did not.
And so for State's Exhibit number 7, likewise, you don't know who the manufacturer is.
No, sir.
You did absolutely no testing to determine its reliability.
I did not do any calibration on the measuring tape.
As part of your career as a forensic investigator, have you done any research, anything to determine, whether rulers that you buy, for example, from Home Depot or Lowe's, whether there's some deviation from the exact measurements that we rely on?
No, I have not.
Did you place this particular ruler in evidence so that that could be tested later on by the defense?
No, sir.
Okay, and what were you doing here? Were you actually doing the measuring or were you actually doing the photographing?
I was holding the camera and Detective Smith was holding the measuring tape.
Okay, is it important to hold the measuring tape straight, vertical, straight?
The tape measure is vertical.
It's supposed to be completely straight. If you have a bend to it, that's not a good thing, right?
I don't believe that it would make that much of a deviation if there's a little bit of a bend, you're trying to get a height.
Yeah, no,
those
I'm
photographs.
not saying that it's going to be significant to you. I'm just saying that you want to keep that straight, right?
As vertical as you can.
Okay. And so you also want to make sure that it is flat up against the wall. The entire ruler, correct?
The ruler is against the wall.
Just don't worry about the picture right now. I'm just going through your procedures. You want to make sure that the ruler's up against the wall, correct?
If possible.
Okay. And so you were taking the photo. Were you the one that was making the calculation of what the measurement was?
I was able to look back at the photograph and make the calculation, yes.
And you indicated that you believed her measurement was what?
Approximately 63 inches.
Approximately 63. Were you trying to get an exact measurement of her height here or not really?
As close as possible.
As close as possible. So I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 7. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Tell me, Ms. Wiegand, tell me exactly how you made a determination that Mrs. Olson weighed 63 inches.
Her height.
Excuse me, weight. Sorry, used the wrong word.
Again, this
Height. If you take the from where about the top of her head is over, it's approximately 63 inches.
So you're using the bottom of a green ruler.
The green ruler is just to kind of give you a reference. Her head goes approximately right over there to where the 63 inches is.
So are you using the bottom of the green ruler or the top of the green ruler or somewhere in the middle?
The green ruler is just a reference from one to the other.
Okay, allows your eye to try to look and see what number it corresponds to.
Yes,
And that's what you did here.
yes,
And you estimated this particular photo to be 63 inches.
yes, sir.
Okay. From the floor to the top of her head.
Yes,
Okay. And she did not have shoes on, correct?
no, sir.
Okay. Were you given any shoes for her to measure?
On that day?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. And you did that process in what manner?
the shoes were just photographed.
They were not measured?
No,
Well, why would you measure the shoe here? We won't even take it out, we know what it looks like, right? Why would you measure the shoe here but not measure the inside of her shoe?
I was requested to measure those shoes.
The shoe that you photographed, was it a shoe with a heel?
These or Miss Olson?
Miss Olson's.
Yes,
Okay. Now, you then went to measure in State's Exhibit number 8, Mr. Reeves, is that correct?
yes,
Okay. And you did that here at the State Attorney's Office
yes, sir.
with Mr. Michaels present?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, tell the court, please, what tools you brought in order to make that measurement.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What tools did you bring in order to make those measurements?
The camera and the tape measures.
And that was done now on August the 24th of 2016.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what tape measure you brought for this third calculation?
No, I don't.
Do you know if it was the same tape measure as you did for Ms. Olson and or the same tape measure that you did for the Cobb Theater?
I don't recall if any of the same ones.
And so your answers, I would imagine, would be the same for this tape measure. You have no idea who manufactured it, correct?
Correct.
You've never tested it against any forensic ruler to determine the degree of accuracy,
It's never been calibrated.
and you have no idea where it's at today. You never even placed it in evidence.
No, sir.
You would agree those tape measures, those yellow Home Depot tape measures are not terribly expensive.
I didn't purchase them. I don't know.
Okay, and so let me show you what's been marked